So when we started developing in Wally, one of the things which was very important to us was how the whole community is going to feel like, what it's going to look like at the end of the day when it's all finished. And what do people do in that neighborhood? What's available to them besides going into their apartments and living in the apartments and watching TV and just living their leisure time into it? What else is there for them? What amenities are offered into that neighborhood? Many, many years ago, I read an article, or actually a book, which was written by the Vancouver Foundation, and it spoke about cities becoming lonely. Vancouver, they actually voted as one of the loneliest cities around, and because there's not a lot of neighborhood as such where people on the ground level are meeting each other. So somebody buys a condo downtown Vancouver, they simply go in the car, or they walk into the apartment, and right there, that's their little paradise of their own. They don't know, most of the people don't know the neighbors, because reality is there is not a lot of places where they can go and meet others. If you look at a lot of the condominium that was designed way back in Vancouver, there isn't a gathering spaces that is close by where your neighbors in that building get together. Buildings usually take about, or the community to gel together, people to get to know each other, roughly about between 9 months to a year. But that process is enhanced, is faster, simply because the way the buildings are designed. And we're getting a lot of good comments from the people who actually moved into our communities about how they enjoy living in that space. And they don't usually talk about the condominium that they bought from us. It's about the building themselves. So that's what we all look for. We look for connections, and our communities are providing that. And having those comments and feedback from people who are living in our communities right now, it's an absolutely wonderful experience, and really satisfying experience as well, knowing that I'm doing the right thing. So what we're designing out in Wally is like trying to create as much amenity space as we can, and functional spaces. These are not just spaces because the city wants them. That's not what we're about. We're about trying to think about how people are going to behave themselves in a community. So a condominium building is literally a little city on its own, and how are those people going to get to know each other? And by knowing each other, it becomes a much safer community, much more friendlier city. And I'm talking about a building itself alone. And so each building that we're designing, we're learning more and more about what to do and how people behave. I call it a bit of a social engineering experiment, whereby you're trying to think and how people are behaving in our previous building, and how the next building can benefit the next community as well. And it's working really well for us. And the last community we did was a project called Maverick, and we put a lot of space in that one. It's all ground level, so the indoor is on the ground level, and the outdoor is attached to it. It's an absolutely amazing to see when it's just full of people. There's outdoor barbecues, there's an indoor TV area, there's a pool room, there's a kind of a common kitchen, and it's beautiful. And that reminds me of a much larger communities where, the single family homes where people used to get together and have street barbecues and so forth. And this is kind of going towards that. And now you actually get to meet your neighbors. Oh, I live in this apartment, I live in this apartment. So they get to know each other, and it's I don't know, I always get goosebumps talking about stuff like that. But I think it's important for us as developers to start thinking long-term about how that community is going to survive over the next 50, 70, 100 years. So every building that we build, like a low-rise 4-6-story building, that's lifetime is about 70, 80 years, and a high-rise is over 100 years. So how is that going to exist in that time frame, and how is that going to become a friendly place and a safer place where people get to know each other? That's how we meet each other. One of the things that we started looking at when we did I call it the Flamingo Tower, which is our first high-rise that we're doing, was what does it offer to the people who are going to move into my neighborhood? And I'm very passionate, sorry, I'm saying my neighborhood because I'm very passionate about it. What are people going to be, how are they going to feel about it? What do we offer to them that other places may not offer? So I did a lot of studies on various cities around the world, and one of the cities is famous for, it's called the 15 minutes, it's Paris. So in Paris, in a lot of the areas, you can walk to pretty much everything you can within 15 minutes. You should be able to walk, bike, wherever you want in that neighborhood where you have everything at within a 15 minutes walking radius. And that's what we advertised, and people actually got the idea, yes, you know, we should be able to walk. So if you're going down the street and the store is 10 minutes away, now do you take your car out and take a 2-minute drive, 3-minute drive, or do you turn around and walk? Now, walking is healthy, we all know that. Getting fresh air out there, and you are also going to bump into some of your neighbors as well. So it becomes a point where, again, you know, we get to know each other more. So the 15 minutes brand, we didn't create it. It's been around a long, long time, but we wanted to emphasize that more simply because it's such a good brand to have, and allowing the people to be in a place where everything is walkable, and that will create a much healthier health-wise. It'll be healthier socially as well, and safer as well. So amenities are very, very important to us, and I think as a buyer, as me going into a community, I want to make sure that I have those facilities available to me. I want to make sure, so when we talk to our buyers who bought into it, what are the reasons they bought into our communities? They bought it simply because amenity spaces, what the area is going to feel like when the buildings are finished, what is available to them. Do they have restaurants available? They have a pizza place they can go to pick up and have drop in. Fitness is built into the building itself, but is there other places where they can hang around? One of the things we're doing right now is in the Flamingo Tower we're building, we have a street, right, which a new street we're putting in. It was supposed to be a street for cars, but we're actually talking to the mayor and council about it to make it into a walkable street. So it's a pedestrian street where people are going to be able to walk in that street all over. We can have benches in there, we can have gatherings there, we can have events in summertime where people can gather together. And we've done the experiment in Wally itself where we actually shut down a simple block, and there's no cars allowed that day. We put a stage up and invited local artists, local kids to sing, dance, and there was hamburgers served, and you know, it brings in so much warmth and fuzzies into that day. And so why not create something like that? Because I think as a buyer going into a neighborhood, and if I had that street in my neighborhood, I mean, I'm all over it. I want to go take my friends, my friends come and visit me, I want to go and take them down to that street, because there's restaurants there I can go for a meal, or we can go for a meal, there's a coffee shop, we can have a cup of coffee, meet some of the other people in the neighborhood, and there's neighborhood kind of plan some events, celebrate Canada Day, do a celebration, do an outdoor theater one day. You know, there's so much available when you have that amenity space which is available as a community, not just as a building, but also as a community, what is available to them. And that will bring, for me anyway, I think it's a place where I want to live, where those amenities are offered to me, where I can actually feel safe and walk around and meet other people. As a whole, that community will gel together like you've never seen before.